Welcome back to the program. So first and foremost, thank you all for the kind words. Yes, it's a lot of fun to speak publicly. I've always done it. I don't get to do it as much, but hopefully now with the book out, I'll be able to do it a little bit more. I was asked to speak at a local Republican committee meeting, and of course, I jumped on the opportunity to do so. I enjoy doing it. I like to feed off of the energy of the crowd. And I always like to ask questions while I'm doing it too, because I want to make sure that people are engaged and that they get a chance to learn something. So thank you all for the kind words on that. Let me just say this, okay? And obviously I touched on this last night in my speech, but if President Trump, God forbid, was to fail, it would not be because of Democrats. Democrats cannot stop him. They don't have the numbers, they don't have the power, and they're not in control. So the only way that President Trump could be stopped is if we stop him. And I don't mean me and you and the grassroots and MAGA and America First. I'm talking about the establishment and the RINO Republicans. President Trump will be successful if we can control the people and the enemy within ourselves from destroying him. And that is going to be our number one goal. We are going to have to go after these RINOs and these establishment Republicans worse than we ever went after Democrats. If you think I hate Democrats, I hate RINO establishment Republicans a million times more, because they should know better, and they don't, because they're sellouts, they're dirtbags, and they're all corrupt. And we have to keep an eye on them, and more importantly, we need to rein them in. Now, some of them are already talking about Matt Gaetz and saying that they don't even want to give him a chance, they don't want to give him a vote. Look, I've already told you why he's going to be confirmed, okay? It doesn't matter what their votes are. It doesn't matter if his confirmation fails, in the Senate. It doesn't matter, because he's going to be recess appointed with the Federal Vacancy Act, and he's going to serve a minimum of 7 months. And now possibly I'm hearing there's another caveat where if he serves for 7 months, according to Wendy Rogers, I didn't know this, she told us last night, he can serve for another 7 months. So let me tell you something. 1 year and 4 months of Matt Gaetz at the helm at the Department of Justice, plenty of time. Plenty of time. I even thought 7 months was plenty of time. But 14 months is definitely plenty of time. So who cares? Who cares if any of these people are confirmed? Honestly, they can all be recess appointed. That's just the way it is. That's the way the law works. So I don't really care about what these Republicans say. But like I said, there are many of them that are going to continue to side with the left, side with the devil, side with the evil, side with the enemy, and we're going to have to continuously fight against them. So I want people to understand that the battle is going to start in January, and it's going to be fierce, and hopefully it won't be, but it probably will be. But like I said earlier when he won, I said now's the good time. It's much better to fight from a majority position than to be the resistance in a minority position. So I'll take this battle all day long and twice on Sundays. Now, as far as Matt Gaetz is concerned, he's already been investigated. The Department of Injustice has already said and found zero, nothing, nada, zilch, no crimes whatsoever, and they have dismissed the entire allegations against him. So the only reason that they're bringing this up, well, quite frankly, is because of who Matt Gaetz is and because of the position that he's about to take. So none of this really matters. But you know what does matter? What matters is that now that they have leaked this information after voting against it, saying that they weren't going to do that, and someone else already has leaked it. But now, what we ought to do is we ought to talk about the fact that if you want to go after Matt Gaetz, then let's go after all the Democrats, well over 50 of them, by the way, in 20 years, that have paid millions upon millions upon millions of dollars in hush money and non-disclosure agreements through congressional resources for sexual abuse allegations. Okay? Why don't we talk about that? If you want to go after Matt Gaetz and you want to play this game, fine. Let's play this game. But let's also divulge who the people are, the names of the people, what they were accused of, how much money they spent on trying to keep their sexual depravity and proclivities secret. Now, I don't have all the names. I just have some names that obviously were made public years ago. But I do have some information, okay? And the information that I have is that they have spent millions upon millions of dollars. And this, believe it or not, surprisingly, was a report from the Communist News Network. CNN actually reported on this. A report, and this was back in, let's see, when was this? 2017. I would never bring up a story from 2017 unless it was relevant for today, and quite frankly it is. So CNN exposes the DC swamp's serious problem of powerful men preying on women and then paying off these women to keep them quiet. CNN spoke with over 50 current and or former lawmakers, their aides, and their staff members who have personally experienced sexual misconduct, abuse, and harassment on the Hill of known people, members of Congress, and U.S. senators. As if this couldn't get any worse, Representative Jackie Speier, Democrat from California, told MSNBC's Chuck Todd on Tuesday, again, this is many years ago, that taxpayers have paid out over $15 million to settle sexual harassment lawsuits against members of Congress. Now, what we don't have are the names, unfortunately. I have a couple of names, and I'll go through some of those names. I have it written down, but I can remember it too. But just to give you an idea of how many, and not just how many, but the amounts, my goodness. This is going back to 1997, okay? And it probably goes back even further than that. But in 1997, just to give you an idea, there were 6 settlements, okay? You're talking $39,429 was sent out. 1998, there were 16 settlements for $103,000. In 1999, there was another 6 for $72,000. In the year 2000, there was 15 more for $45,000. 2001, there was 7 for $121,000. 2002, there was 10 for $3,974,000. 2003, there was 11 for $720,000. 2004, there was 15, $388,000. Let's see. 2005, there was 14 settlements, totaling $909,000. 2006, there was 18 for $849,000. 2007, that was a tough year. 25 settlements, $4,053,000. 2008, there was 10 for $875,000. 2009, there was 13 for $831,000. 2010, there was 9 for $246,000. 2011, there was 16 for $437,000. 2012, there was 12 more for $426,000. 2013, there was 14 more for $334,000. 2014, there was 11 for $806,000. 2015, there was 13 more for $482,000. 2016, there was 15 for $588,000. In 2017, there was 8 more for $934,000. That was just up to 2017. Okay? It's 7 years later, folks. 2024, almost 2025. How many more And how many millions more have these people been doing this for? And by the way, guess who's paying for this? Or at least they were for a while. You. That's right. Your tax dollars were being paid to women and sometimes even men, right? Remember Mark Foley? I'll give you the ones I know publicly. Mark Foley, sexual abuse allegations with his male staffers and page, right? You had Al Franken, senator from Minnesota, resigned from Congress for sexual misconduct. You had the late John Conyers, who also resigned from Congress and again was part of this as well. Raul Grijalva, who's still in Congress, congressman, communist from Tucson. He's been involved. There's been a few others. Bob Brady covered it all up. There's Sam Cassett. There's a few others. So there's some names that are out there that are public record. But how many of them are not public record? We ought to find out who these people are. They want to play this game with Matt Gaetz. Somebody ought to get this information, Freedom of Information Act request, whatever it may be. And let's get some names. Let's find out who these people are. Because I can guarantee you that it's not just all past reformed, whatever, former members of Congress and the Senate. I guarantee you there are sitting members in the Senate and sitting members of Congress right now that have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars, and have given to these victims and made them sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. So who are they? Who are the rest of these people? And how many, my goodness, were they? I mean, I'm not even going to count here, but it's clearly well over, let's see, doing quick math here. I mean, just from 97 to 2007, I don't want to break out a calculator and waste our time here, but I mean, you're talking 50, 75, 100, 125, 140, 160, 180. I'd say at least from 1997 to 2017, 200 different settlements for millions upon millions of dollars. But nobody wants to talk about that. No, they just want to talk about Matt Gaetz. And they want to say that he's such a criminal and such a bad guy and all that. Well, you know what? He's not. He's already been exonerated, and yet they're still coming after him. But like I said, it doesn't matter because he's going to be your attorney general. As I said, there's only two ways he won't be. Number one, if he withdraws for the nomination, which I highly doubt he will. But then again, I mean, maybe he doesn't want the headache. Maybe Ron DeSantis is going to say, hey, you know what? Why don't you take over and be a senator? I don't know. That could happen. Could be Lara Trump. Could be a number of different people. So I don't know. We're going to see what happens. But I'm not worried about it. I'm truly not. I'm not worried about it because we know that the law is on our side. And the other thing is that President Trump these days, he understands. He gets it now in his second term. Should be his third term, but his second term that he was allowed to serve. And he's got the best legal minds around him. He truly does. And they're going to be out in front of all this. And they're not backing down. They're not being wimpy rhinos and pulling the nomination away, right? There hasn't been any of that talk. So they know that they're going to get these people in these positions. And, I was thinking about this. Just about every single person, that has been nominated to run these agencies has either been a critic of the agency, has either whistleblowed on the agency, or has actually litigated against the agencies. So why would you want anyone else other than a person like that who has tried to change the agency from the outside? Put them now inside the agency and let them change those agencies from the inside out. And that is really the story of this second presidency for President Trump. It is a disruptor's paradise. That's what this is. They're going to go in there and they're going to disrupt. They're going to arrest. They're going to hopefully indict. They're going to jail. They're going to do firing. They're going to do all kinds of things. And I can't wait to see it happen. I know all of you are excited to see it happen as well. I believe that in the end, Matt Gaetz is going to get a fair up and down vote. And he's probably going to pass. Okay? Yeah, there's going to be the Lisa Murkowskis and the Susan Collins and probably one or two other idiots. But I think he's going to pass. It might be close, but I think he's going to pass. I think most of the other ones are all going to pass, truly. Even Hegseth and the rest of them. I think it's just Gaetz is the only one because they're so afraid. They are terrified of what he wants to do and what he plans on doing. So anyway, before I run out for this evening, let's see. Dr. Marty Makary, who was a COVID truth teller and a good guy, has been named to head the FDA. See, once again, a critic, someone that didn't believe the lockdowns, didn't believe the vaccines, and all that stuff. Now you have someone like that that's going to be running the FDA. You've got somebody who literally spent his entire legal career filing lawsuits against the FDA, the CDC, the Center for Medical Services, and whatever that's called, which, by the way, Dr. Oz is now going to be in charge of that. But I'm talking about Robert F. Kennedy. He literally spent his entire career suing these agencies, including Health and Human Services, and now he's going to be running it. Pete Hegseth, he has been a huge critic of the military, huge critic of woketocracy and the wokeness in the military. He's now going to be the defense secretary. Tulsi Gabbard, she's been someone that doesn't want foreign wars, doesn't want to get us entangled in nation building around the globe. She's going to be the director of national intelligence. John Ratcliffe was another one who released a lot of information when he was DNI with President Trump, is now going to be running the CIA. So it's really interesting that these choices, these picks, are all just renegades. It's like a superhero Justice League, like I said last night. That's the best way to explain it. You know, President Trump is obviously Superman. You've got, Elon, which is like Batman. You've got J.D. Vance, which is like Robin. I mean, it's like a Justice League of like superheroes. It's an unbelievable thing. But the other thing I wanted to talk about is not only that, but Keystone Pipeline, day one, coming back. Day one, he's already announced it. But also, this is interesting, real quick. It looks like MSNBC is going bye-bye. And along with it, more than likely, could be The View next. Sunny Hostin, or shall we call her Sunny Hostage, because that's what it looked like, a hostage situation, when she was forced to look at the camera and say that she was basically full of it and lied about sex trafficking and Matt Gaetz. They literally told Whoopi in her ear that Sunny has to read a statement right now in the middle of the segment. They didn't even wait for a commercial break. She had to do it. Did you see the look on her face? She looked like she was like a hostage, literally, okay? But anyway, I wanted to show you this. Let's see where it is, right here. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of Bill O'Reilly. I used to call him Bill O'Reilly because I never really trusted him. But Bill O'Reilly was talking to, what's his name? The guy for News Nation, Cuomo, right? And somebody else. And when they were talking, what he was saying to him was that he believes that MSNBC and all that is going to be bye-bye. He thinks that they're going to shut the whole thing down. Why am I having a thing that says retry? Here, hang on 1 second here. Give me 1 second here. Why isn't that working? That link's not working now? That's weird. Let's see here. Bill O'Reilly. Come on, work, bitch. Let's go. There it is. Okay. So, here, let me pause it real quick. Anyway, it's only 2 minutes long, but it's interesting what he says. It really is interesting what he's saying. they no longer trust these left-leaning pundits, okay? Clearly they don't. And they understand that the American people have spoken, and I'm talking about the owners of these networks, right? The ones that are, making millions and billions of dollars and all that. They're noticing that their viewership is gone. They notice that they're paying these exorbitant, huge salaries to these talking head idiots that got everything wrong and, quite frankly, could put them in legal jeopardy because of all the Hitler talk and the Mussolini and the fascist and sex trafficking and all these other things. Sonny Hassan having to do that live on TV. So what I'm saying is the networks are done. They are done with networks like their own. And I think they're all going to change or they're going to sell it off. And I have a perfect person in mind who could buy it. But before we get to that, let's listen to this real quick here.
Comcast said, you two, we're going to have to try to mend some cliche fences, and you two are going to go in there and you're going to try to tamp it down. Because Comcast knew the next day they were going to announce that MSNBC is vapor. That is a huge media story.
Why is
Enormous.
it vapor? Just because they're spinning it off
more...
and putting them in the... Well, they're spinning off a bunch of brands.
There's no spin-off.
There is. It's a spin-off company.
There's no spin-off. See, you buy the propaganda, Cuomo.
Oh, okay.
See what I mean about
I'm just saying
people?
what's being reported.
All right.
But what do you know?
Yeah, I know, but why would you believe what's being reported? You want the real story? Here
Yes,
it comes.
please.
So they're uncoupling their word, Comcast, MSNBC from NBC News. That means MSNBC has no resources at all. None. They're not going to be able to pay these people millions of dollars, Rachel Maddow, whatever she's making. NBC News is saying, we don't want you around. Why? Because NBC News' numbers, Lester Holt and the Today Show, are catastrophe because half the country equates NBC News with MSNBC and they won't watch. So NBC is desperately trying to save the mothership of information, and they have to throw MSNBC overboard. They're not putting anything into MSNBC. They want to sell it. So where's Georgie Soros now? Georgie's buying radio stations. You can get MSNBC for nothing. They'll give it to you.
See, that pisses me off, okay? That's why I call him Bill O'Reilly, because you never know where he's coming from and what side he's on. Shut up, Bill. Why would you tell George Soros, who just purchased 200 radio stations, to now buy MSLSD? See, these are the establishment RINOS scumbags that I'm talking about.
You. They don't want any more of this. Why? Because it's hateful. Not because it's so far left. The whole NBC Comcast hierarchy is far left. But it's hateful. They hate Trump. They hate people who vote for Trump. Everybody knows that. And you know what's next? The View. ABC News is going to have to cut ties with The View. And you saw that today or yesterday when Sonny Hassan had to read a legal statement in the middle of a segment. The lawyers get Whoopi Goldberg's ear and it said, we're bringing a statement in on a teleprompter. She reads it. So it is over for these far left networks. Done, never coming back. Dracula's stake in the heart. Who benefits? News Nation may, but CNN, which is on the ropes too, will probably get some MSNBC viewers.
So, here's what I would suggest. Who would be able to buy MSNBC, cut 90% of their staff, and turn them into, I don't know, another conservative network? Well, perhaps Rocket Man could. That's right, Elon Musk. What if Elon Musk goes and buys MSNBC? Now you have Fox News, which is semi-conservative. Then you'd have CNN, which surprisingly, even during this whole election season, was moderately, independent almost. I mean, honestly, it was. I mean, you had them talking about how she's losing. They challenged her a lot of times. I remember a couple of times they ridiculed her and mocked her for price protection or gouging or whatever it was. So they've even moved a little, not a lot, but a little bit to the right. So what if Elon was to buy MSNBC? Couple that now with X, and who knows? Maybe he could also purchase CNN. Maybe they'll give him a 2-for-1 deal, huh? Talk about knocking out the left's media sources like that. Things are changing. That golden age they're talking about is coming. It is coming, and we should all be excited about it. And if you lie to the American people long enough, if you are hateful to the American people, or half the American people, or actually in this case, more than half of the American people, us Trump supporters, and you do that long enough, eventually, guess what? It's going to cost you. It's not just going to cost you viewership. It's going to cost you this way. And then what happens? When you have no money, you can't pay the exorbitant salaries anymore. And you've got no money coming in from advertisers because they don't want to advertise when there's 17 people watching, right? So what happens? They sell, they downsize, they, fire sale it off for 90% less, and somebody can come in, hopefully not on the left, someone like an Elon can come in and buy them and knock them out. And then they'd have what? They'd have, I guess, NBC, ABC, and CBS left, but who knows? Maybe they're going to tank soon too. That article that I was talking about the other night, I couldn't find. 1 out of 5 people are getting their news from social media, and the amounts are huge. From 18 to 29-year-olds, it was like 40% get their news from social media. And they said that the majority of people doing news the podcasters are conservatives, not liberals. So the younger generation is no longer listening to CNN and MSNBC and ABC and CBS and all the rest of them. They are listening to Joe Rogan, Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, others on TikTok, others on, YouTube, whatever. Hopefully maybe even some me, although I'm so censored. But what I'm trying to say is the younger generation is not going to be as left-leaning as the older people. Because they said like 7% go to social media over the age of 65. That's it, 7%. So what does that mean? That means that they're not going on the social media platforms. Maybe it's because they're older and they don't know how to use them as well. I don't know. But regardless, even those people, though, are more conservative, and they voted conservative for President Trump in huge numbers because even though they're watching Fox or they're watching CNN, they have lived experience. And so they understand because they're paying taxes, they're running businesses, they're making paychecks, they're watching their pensions, they're buying real estate. They have life experience. And because they have that life experience, they're conservative. But the younger generation, 40%, and again, how many young people voted for President Trump? So have faith in the future, especially with social media, because these young kids are becoming skeptics, and there's nothing better to be young and skeptical. Because if you're young and skeptical, you're going to listen to different points of view, and you're going to figure it out on your own. And you're going to eventually come to a conservative leaning and standpoint, right? What do they say? If you're not a liberal in your 20s, you have no heart or something. And if you're not a conservative by the time you're 30 or 40, you have no brain. I think that's what the quote is. Whatever, it's an old quote. But the bottom line is the younger generation is becoming more conservative, and we should all take solace in that and be really excited about that. But you know what? Let's see. Maybe they sell off. Maybe Elon buys it. Next thing you know, we get rid of left-leaning media. Could you imagine that for a second? No left-leaning media or very little left-leaning media, and we're dominating the message so that the next generation and the next generation and the next generation and more Hispanic voters and more black voters, I'm telling you, we're on the precipice We're on the precipice of a huge right-leaning shift in this country, and it could be generational for many years to come, God willing. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.